Have you ever been sitting in your house and heard the sickening thud of something hitting your window? You go outside only to realize that there's a dead bird under your window. It's heartbreaking. Know that you're not alone and that there are solutions. This video is specifically going to talk about residential solutions. With wild bird populations around the world in decline, it's more important now than ever that everyone becomes a part of the solution. So before we jump into the how of preventing impacts, let's take a minute to talk about the why. So you often hear the old adage of survival of the fittest, or comments like, well, only the dumb birds hit windows. But that actually couldn't be further from the truth. So there's been decades of research now that's been spearheaded by a researcher named Daniel Clem Jr. of Muhlenberg College, which is right up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And what he and others have found is that windows are indiscriminate killers. Birds in the prime of their life will hit a window. Did you notice in the beginning of this video, before I panned out, that this glass door actually appeared almost as if it wasn't there? So you can see when I move back in again, you really can't tell that there's glass there. Birds have the exact same problem. They can't perceive the glass. They don't see it as a barrier. You've actually seen this with humans too. If you ever watch, funny videos of somebody walking smack dab into a big pane of glass, it's because they don't see the glass. So birds may see the habitat on the inside of the glass. They may see, if you have a window on one side of your house and another corner window or a window across from it, they don't see the glass. They see an open corridor, a way to get from one habitat to another by flying through your house. They don't know that the glass is there. The other issue is that glass can be highly reflective. So when birds see a reflection of sky, or they see a reflection of leaves on a tree or branches, they think that it's real habitat and they attempt to fly into the habitat. And instead they hit a glass wall. So, how do you prevent window strikes? So the first thing is to educate yourself. And you're doing that here today, which is wonderful. But also share your knowledge with your friends and your family and your neighbors. So help to spread the word. So what are the best options to preventing a window strike? The best options are actually external options, which is why we've come outside here. So there are two types of external options. One of them is to physically prevent the birds from getting to the glass, so creating a barrier. The other option is to make the glass visible so that the birds know that it's there. So with these physical barriers, you can actually see when I touch the screen that there's some give to it, so that if a bird does impact this screen, it's not going to then hit the window that's right behind it. So you want to make sure the screen covers the entire window and that it has a little bit of give and a little bit of space between the screen and the window itself. Not all windows need to be treated. Only really windows that have issues with bird impact. If you can treat all of your windows like we've done here, that is the very best option. But if you can't, then just focus on the windows that seem to have the problem. Another thing that I wanted you to note out here is that we have this lovely maple tree right here, and it's pretty close to my house. So why then did I not just hang my bird feeder right here in this maple tree? It seems like a really logical choice because I would be able to see the birds right from my window. And instead I have this feeder over here, and this feeder is actually really close. In fact, it's within 3 feet of the window. So you can think of 3 feet as about an arm's length. An arm's length prevents birds from getting enough momentum built up. If they do fly off of the feeder, before they hit the window, they don't have enough momentum to hurt themselves. So in this case, we have a screen anyway, which would prevent them. But if they did fly off of this feeder and fly straight into this window, even if there weren't a screen, they wouldn't have enough force to hurt themselves. Versus if they flew from this tree over here, they now have all that time, space, and distance to build up the momentum and the force. And if they hit this window without the screen, there's a very real chance that it would be lethal for them. So keeping your feeders close to your house, within about an arm's length, is actually another helpful tool in the toolkit to prevent lethal window strikes. The other thing you want to consider is if you're planting native habitat, keep it close to your house so that when they fly up out of it and hit a window, they're not going to have enough force to hurt themselves. Or if you have habitat that's extending further and further out from your windows, consider doing what we've done here, and that is treating all of the windows that face that habitat. So basically, consider all of your native plantings like a giant bird feeder, which is wonderful, but you need to also consider how to keep birds safe. So on to option 2 of our external fixes, which is making the glass into a visual barrier. So making it visible to the birds so that they won't fly into that space. So there are actually a ton of options here, and a quick internet search will show you that you can use paint and tape and outdoor curtains and strings. So no matter which method you choose, the research has shown that the best way to prevent birds from flying through that space is to space any visual cues no more than 2 inches apart. So you can see on these treated windows here that we have strings or an outdoor curtain. And in this case, this is a DIY option. It's pretty easy with just drilling through these pipes here and stringing up this paracord. But you can also buy these online. Pre-made if that is an easier option for you. It'll just be a matter of installing them. But you can see that the strings are 2 inches apart in front of this window. Another option as we move across, a little bit more naturalistic, but a very similar take on things, and that is to create a barrier. So you can see with these branches in front of this window that there are gaps, but they are not more than a couple of inches. And again, the birds may actually come and land in these branches, but that is going to prevent them from flying straight through. They'll be coming in for a landing rather than trying to go through the large glass windows. And then on the bottom, you can see that there are screens. So these windows are fully protected, and they take a little bit more of a naturalistic view. Like I said, they actually create habitat in this case, which is pretty wonderful, that you can sit at your morning meal and watch the birds right outside your window, literally picking through these branches for spiders and other little bugs and things. So another wonderful way to prevent birds from hitting your window. One thing that I would like to point out is that sometimes you see these hawk decals and people think, well, I'm just going to slap a hawk decal on the outside of my window and the birds will know to stay away from that. Research again has proven that that just doesn't work. Little songbirds will impact those windows literally a couple inches from those hawk decals. So you really have to make sure that the window is fully covered. There are a lot of different places that you can look for more information. American Bird Conservancy, so ABC, their website has a ton of information. Again, I already mentioned Daniel Clem and his research, so you can just search his name. It's Klem, so Daniel Clem Jr. There's also a program called FLAP, which is fatal light awareness program. Similar information about preventing bird strikes into windows. Maybe consider taking some of these tips to work if you have a building or a place that you're having impacts at work as well with windows. So this can be scaled up. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys the next time. Thanks.